Coronavirus is not the only pandemic people around the world have been experiencing over the past few months. Some are also experiencing cabin fever, or as some experts call it, quarantine fatigue. Earlier today, I spoke with healthy living expert Dr. Jason West about this pandemic and about what you can do. Dr. West, thanks for joining us again tonight. Most people have been staying at home for weeks now because of the state's stay-at-home order. A recent study found there's another pandemic that's sweeping the globe right now, and that's cabin fever. Some are calling it quarantine fatigue. What is quarantine fatigue, and what can we do about it?
Well, it's when you're cooped up and you feel anxiety or depression, and it's literally from not doing your normal thing. It's a deviation from normal life, and it really affects your mental health.
Well, what does staying at home and not being able to go out and do the things we normally do, what does that do to us mentally and physically?
Well, I think that's the wrong thing that we're doing, because what I mean by that is social distancing and quarantine and stuff like that doesn't mean to go into a closet and lock yourself down, although I think a lot of people are doing that. What it's doing is saying, hey, you should be careful with being around people and having transmissible vectors, but we need to be active. We need to have motion. We need to have a hobby or do a puzzle or read a book or get out and walk without being inside of a group. And that'll help so much with quarantine fatigue.
So we can get outside and still social distance and be okay.
Absolutely. I mean, matter of fact, we know that sunlight and fresh air is going to help people to overcome quarantine fatigue, to get your immune system to be healthier. It's good to get oxygen in your system. Sunlight kills viruses. I mean, it's important to get out. It's just you don't need to be locked down, and that's what so many people are doing, and they're getting sick of it and they're getting antsy.
Now, this study shows that some people let down their guards early and began going to places even if it wasn't an essential trip. Does that raise the risk of a second wave of COVID-19?
Well, I think that's the risk, although you're watching what's happening in Sweden, who didn't really do the lockdown, and then recognizing that, like, it's not wise to go out and go and poke the coronavirus giant in the eye. But at the same time, if you stay cooped up, it's going to be hard on you physically and mentally. You can get out and move and still fall within the quarantine guidelines and the social distancing guidelines. It's not healthy to be cooped up.
In our area, both the governors of Indiana and Kentucky announced that their states will begin to reopen soon. Some things in Indiana will begin to reopen next week. But that doesn't mean that we should all just run out at one time to the mall and out to eat, does it?
It doesn't. Matter of fact, we need to be gradual. And again, what I'm telling people is what this virus is doing, it's a wake-up call to see how healthy your immune system is. And getting enough water to lubricate your mucous membranes, having healthy emotions, and interacting with your circle, your family is healthy. Now it's time to get out and be smart about integrating back into society.
Is there a fear that since some are experiencing this quarantine fatigue, that a large number of people will want to get out of their house on the day that certain places begin to reopen?
Well, I certainly think it's a concern, because we haven't seen and this sounds really crass to say, we haven't seen the body count go up. I mean, it hasn't really kicked in for people that this was a really, really serious infection that occurred, and tragically it's killed 60,000 people. What you want to do is to be smart when you get back into the society as the restrictions decrease. It doesn't mean to go willy-nilly. It means, hey, let's start to integrate in with a plan.
So the bottom line here, should we all ease into trying to get back to normal, or be smart about it, as you say?
Well, it's a little bit of both. I mean, we need to get back and support our economy, our community, our country. At the same time, we don't want to, again, have a bunch of risk factors. And it really just comes down to being smart and using common sense. I don't want you to be locked up in a closet, and at the other end of the spectrum, you don't want to go out and go to a big party event or something like that. It's the middle where we're incorporating, we're taking care of ourselves, we're eating healthy, we're drinking water, we're putting vitamins in our system, we're not trying to purposely socialize with people that are sick, but at the same time, hey, it's time to go back to normal.
And that was Dr. Jason West.